Hi, I'm Leo Finelli, and you're listening to Generation Change.
For March 2022, our guest is the multi-talented and insightful Molly Smith. Molly is a 20-year-old filmmaker from Orlando, Florida. Her most famous short film, Dear America, has received over 600,000 views online and won a National Student Emmy in the PSA category and the National Coalition Against Censorship's Youth Free Expression Film Contest. Molly's goal is to use the medium of film and her passion as a writer to tell stories which spark conversations and change perspectives. She was named a Cameron Impact Scholar for her work in social justice and impact filmmaking. She attends Yale University studying film and writing. I talked with Molly about growing up in Orlando, spending a year in the Bahamas, and the things we have in common. Also, this episode features the introduction of our new segment, Drop the Pin. Let's get right into the conversation.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
So thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
I first figured out that I was creative when I was really little. I can't remember a time when I didn't know myself to be creative. How about you? When and how did you first realize that you had the creative bug?
I feel like I had a similar experience that ever since I was really little, I just always loved anything creative. Drawing, painting, I wasn't very good at it, but I liked it. Dancing, I started dancing when I was pretty little. And then I did some theater when I was in elementary school. And eventually I started acting, doing film acting when I was about 12. And then from there, that's how I got into filmmaking.
So you can go back to the dancing. You've been a dancer since childhood. What is it about dancing that you enjoy so much?
Well, I just feel like it's a great mixture of a very athletic sport and an art. And I feel like dance has always been a sort of therapy for me my whole life. So it's really great that I'm getting to continue that in college as well. I've joined a dance team here at Yale. And so that's been a highlight of my year. So, and I love filming dance as well.
So right now, I would like to do something that I have never done on any previous episode of this podcast, and it's a new segment that we're calling Drop the Pin. And Drop the Pin is our new segment where we're going to take a deep dive into the place where you grew up and how it shaped you. So we're informed that you grew up in Orlando, Florida. I don't know if you sense any overt way in how living and growing up in the Orlando area impacted you, but were you actually in the city Orlando or just kind of near it, down the road?
Yeah, so I was actually in sort of the suburb outside of Orlando, about 30 minutes west of the actual city. So definitely more of a rural area. Yeah, there's farms out there and stuff.
When I think about Orlando, what I think about is Orlando was practically built by Disney. And I think about, have you ever seen the movie The Florida Project?
I have, yeah.
When I heard about that movie, and I have a printed out copy of the script that I sometimes still read, I thought a lot about my visits to Orlando and that general area where you grew up in Florida. And I loved the idea of exposing that there is authenticity in the happiest place on earth.
Yeah.
Living there, did you sense any of this?
Oh, yeah. I definitely thought a lot about that authenticity that you were talking about and how it feels like a place that's manufactured to bring you happiness, but a lot of times that's not possible. And so I think my whole life I was always kind of struggling to find something authentic and real within a place that just like feels like a vacation destination, because a lot of times people who live in Orlando, like we don't necessarily participate in that vacation lifestyle very often because it's, you know, too expensive, and you know, we're not going to Disney all the time. So it feels like you're living in this place that is like you said, it's very manufactured, but I think that definitely affected me as a filmmaker. It also means that there's a lot of work happening in Orlando. When I was younger, they used to shoot all the commercials for Universal, Disney, all those things were shot in Orlando. And so that's how I started getting on set. I would like go and be a background extra in a Universal commercial and like walk down the street of the like Harry Potter Diagon Alley. And so I think like those things showed me the possibilities of like what could be in what it's like to be on a film set, and like what the possibilities of the film industry are. But yeah, it definitely, I will say that like the Florida project, I'm not from that specific area of Florida, but like that specific area of Florida is very characteristic of Orlando. And I think that film specifically is one of my favorite films. I love it. And I think that it's very honest in its depiction of Orlando as being like this childhood playground, but also having a lot of like harsh realities of poverty and drug abuse happening. So
injustice and social crises.
yeah, absolutely.
We'll be right back.
Hey, I just wanted to start out by saying thank you for listening to Generation Change with Leo Finelli. Ads like this help us produce this podcast. If you'd like to make your own podcast, try Anchor. It's free, it's easy to use, and it allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone, computer, or other digital device. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so that it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other platforms. Anchor helps you make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership needed. Anchor is everything you need to make a podcast, and it's all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today.
Most of your films involve social justice issues, like Dear America is a movie, poem, PSA hybrid about gun violence, or Finding Home is a documentary about students born in other countries trying to find acceptance in the United States. So what's your strategy for approaching these issues in a sensitive way?
I think about that question a lot. It's really important for filmmaking to make sure that anytime you're telling a story about someone or about a topic, you are talking to people who are living that experience, and ensuring that it's like truly authentic. I think for Dear America, that one was easy for it to be authentic because it was my own voice. After the Pulse nightclub shooting, being right in my vicinity, and Marjorie Stoneman Douglas for the Parkland shooting, I remember standing in like the school. We had like these TVs on the wall, and it was Valentine's Day, so everyone was giving each other roses and chocolates, and there was like this like beautiful like love in the community at my high school. I remember then the TVs, like all of them were showing footage of people walking out of the school and just like the news footage of the shooting that day. And it was heartbreaking. Everyone was just standing there holding their roses, like watching the screen. And so I think like that night, actually, I like went home and I was just so frustrated with how these shootings never seem to go away. And so I wrote the poem, like I think the same night. And then eventually that became the script.
So how do you cast people in your films?
I mean, casting can be a really difficult process. I think it's like two things. It depends on what the actor has to do in the actual film. What's the level of acting ability that we're looking for? Do you have to cry on camera, or do you just have to be in a more neutral scene? Do you have to run down the street? I mean, all of these things are things that I have to take into account. And I've been so lucky because I did grow up doing acting, so I knew that community really well in Florida. I would have 20 to 30 people auditioning for my films, which was crazy to me. I was so happy that people wanted to be a part of it. So I think like casting in that sense, when you're watching all of these tapes or if you're doing it in person, sometimes you'll just see somebody read the lines and perform the character and they just embody the character. And it's like something you can't really describe. It's something that they just have that like makes you envision.
They just have it.
Yeah, they have it. That's exactly it. For documentary casting, it's a little different. You're looking for people who are good at speaking on camera and like feel comfortable and also kind of have the story that you want to tell. So that can be more challenging, but
have you ever tried and combined documentary with fiction?
That's actually something I'm kind of working on right now. I have been like playing around with experimental film a little bit more, and so this past fall, I made a film for my film class, and it was basically like that. It was a combination of a little bit of narrative. It was like me walking, and like the shots, when you put them together, it would look like I was walking from New Haven to Florida. So I combined that with documentary memory footage from my life, like some baby footage and like some video footage from the past year. So I put them together and it made this really interesting film that's sort of like a documentary narrative hybrid of embodying homesickness.
Any other memorable specific stories that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I have one. So I took a year off of school last year, and so that was a really good decision for me. I think it was the right choice. Part of the year, I was living on a small island in the Bahamas called Green Turtle Key. And on this island, I had grown up going here, so I knew these people. They knew me my whole life. And they had recently had a really terrible hurricane. So I was there volunteering, filming, making video content for this foundation. And I was also working on a documentary about the island and my relationship with my father and how that changed through working on the island. And so I was doing interviews, and I did probably 40 of them. And I was talking to this one guy, and I was comparing how the US and the Bahamas are different, specifically Green Turtle, and that like it's such a small community. And it's like we were talking about, it's like the complete opposite of that manufactured happiness, Orlando, tourism-centric place. Even though Green Turtle thrives off of tourism, there's a difference there. Everybody knows each other. They know their neighbors. They speak to their neighbors. It's okay to be late because everyone expects that everything runs 15 minutes behind because you stop and talk to people. Consumerism, you can't like just go to the store and buy whatever you want. And so I think all of those things made it feel like a more traditional society. And, there's lots of implications to the word traditional, but I found a lot of value in that, actually. I found value in that like family-centric community. And so this guy said that he had a friend who said, the first time she ever saw the stars was in Green Turtle. And I found that to be the perfect metaphor because it's like seeing things through clear eyes, seeing things as life really is. And so when you live in the city, there's too much light pollution. You can't see the stars. But on an island, you can. So I carry that with me.
Of all your films, which is your favorite and why?
I feel like that question, the answer to that question changes all the time. It's basically whatever I'm most recently working on. But I am really proud of a film that I finished last May. It's called Lioness, and it hasn't premiered yet, but it is a narrative film that I was hired to direct and DP. I didn't write it. someone else wrote it, and then they brought me on. But it was my first piece of professional directorial work. And so I'm very proud of it. It came out exactly the way I was hoping. And it's really a cool film. And there were a lot of challenges in making it. We shot it in a motel in Florida. And I'm really excited to share that with everyone when it comes out.
How do you take care of yourself and your mental health?
I'm constantly working on that. I think it's important for me, like, especially when I was working freelance, and I still kind of am, you set your own hours. And so it can be really challenging to like stop working since you're not on like a schedule. I try to tell myself like, okay, don't do work past 8 p.m. Don't do work, like have one day a week where you just have fun with people and like don't do work. It's very hard though, especially at school. You know, I'm having to do schoolwork and film work and extracurriculars, and I want to have fun. So like it's very challenging to balance all of that, but like I try to get 8 hours of sleep. That is so important to me. And I think also just like working out, dance, exercise, all of that is really good for my mental health as well.
And we are informed that you do a very good Lin-Manuel Miranda impersonation.
Oh my God.
Can you demonstrate?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Okay, well, so I love In the Heights. So I always like to say to my friends, lights up on Washington Heights, I'm at the break of day, I wake up and I got this little punk I gotta chase away. And then I love the part where he goes like, in Hamilton, he goes like, Eliza. Like, it's so funny. Oh, I love Hamilton.
I listen to a lot of Broadway musical albums.
I joke that I could do the one-woman show of In the Heights. That's how much I love it.
What are your plans for the near future at Yale and after you graduate?
Oh, man. I mean, I just want to continue making films. I want to finish this documentary that I've been working on for like 2 years, which I don't know if I will finish that in the spring, but we'll see. And yeah, I'm hoping this summer to intern somewhere, hopefully in New York or LA.
And do you have any advice for aspiring creatives and advocates?
Don't wait for somebody to give you an opportunity. Make your opportunities yourself. My high school, we did not have a film program. So there was nobody telling me like, okay, you need to make a film for this class or whatever. That was not a thing. I had to say, I want to make films and I want to do it so badly that I'm going to do anything to make that happen. Especially now with smartphones, like everybody has the power to be a filmmaker. So like, don't give up and be persistent, and be observant. Think about the world. Think about what you want to say about things. Think like working with other filmmakers in your community is a really great place to start. And, you know, doing things like what you're doing, you know, creating a podcast, that's so cool. And writing scripts and just like being creative every day. I also love writing morning pages is a great idea. It's like you write 3 pages every day in a journal of just like conscious thoughts, just whatever you think. Don't stop writing for 15 minutes. It's wonderful. It's a great way to get ideas.
So right now, what are you doing with that documentary, and do you have any scope on when it might come out?
Right now we are in the editing process. I'm getting really close to having a rough cut, but then I'm gonna obviously have to make a lot of revisions. So I'm really hoping like around May. I'm hoping it will come out around May, but that might be a little optimistic. So
And is it going to be like a web feature?
so I'm gonna do festivals with it. And I'm thinking it's probably gonna be around 30 to 40 minutes long.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it, and thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, it was so fun.
And I loved hearing from you.
Thank you. It was really interesting. We had some cool ideas, and we're very similar in our thoughts on Florida.
Yeah. So nice talking to you. Bye.
All right. Bye.
It's hard to put Molly into a box. She's so many different things. A writer, director, actor, dancer, activist, and so much more. Molly has never lived in a bubble. She has always been aware of what she sees and what's going on in the world around her. That's part of why I wanted to introduce the Drop the Pin segment, because where we are and what's around us shapes us. Authenticity and honesty have been integral themes throughout Molly's life. Growing up near manufactured happiness influenced her desire for the authenticity of finally seeing the stars for the first time. By exploring relevant and meaningful topics such as feminism, immigration, and gun violence, Molly is showing others the stars they can't see, and I absolutely love her Lin-Manuel Miranda impersonation. You can follow Molly at mollywood.films on Instagram and YouTube. If you'd like to recommend someone you know who is trying to make a difference to be on the show, or if you are someone trying to make a difference and would like to be on the show, email us at generationchange@leofinelli.com. Please follow us on Twitter and Instagram at GenChangeWithLF. That's at GenChangeWithLF. Follow and review wherever you get your podcasts, and just share this with your friends and others. Generation Change with Leo Finelli is hosted by Leo Finelli, executive produced by Julie Finelli, and edited by Nick and Leo Finelli. Our original music was composed and performed by Leo Finelli. Thank you so much for listening.